Hey everyone, Dave here again with another Blu-ray DVD collection update video. This is another one for the month of January 2024. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at two awesome new releases that have been sent over to me from my pals over at Viavision from the Imprint range. A couple of titles to take a look at here, so let's get into it. Alright, so as I said at the top, we're taking a look at two brand new releases here from Viavision's Imprint range. Actually, they're not brand new. These came out probably a couple of months ago now, I think. I've been like so busy these last couple of months. December is always hectic for me, very big month. End up going to Japan with Netflix actually for a week or so, and then there's a whole bunch of work I had to do off the back of that. And then Christmas and New Year's and the holidays, I take time off during January just to catch my breath a little bit. You know, been taking a lot of that time to kind of watch all the stuff that has been sent into me. If you saw recently, a couple of days ago, I posted my latest Umbrella haul, massive box of stuff that was in that one as well. I've got a couple of boxes of stuff sent in from Sanity, like more studio stuff that I've got to cover as well, and I'll put that up in a couple of days' time as well. So I've had a lot of stuff to just sort of catch up on these last couple of months. I'm finally getting these videos out. So yeah, these were from the November wave of Imprint titles. I'm still waiting for stuff from December. I'm not too sure if they're actually going to be sending December, or well, we're like at the end of January as well. So I'm not too sure if they're going to be sending December or January stuff. Sometimes they skip months here and there. They're actually sending less media stuff out at the moment. I think they've got like a lot of people on their books that want to look at their stuff, and they're trying to spread it a little bit more evenly, which I think is great. More opportunities for more people to take a look at their stuff, a wider spread, which is really cool. It just means I'm kind of limited on the titles that I'm getting sent now. So I'm actually particularly excited that they were able to approve these two awesome box sets for me. They know how much I love my classic cinema, my classic noirs, and just classic cinema in general. There were a few standalone releases that came out alongside these that I wasn't sent. I ended up picking up a couple of those individually myself. But in this video, we're going to be taking a look at these two awesome box sets that were sent over. First, we'll start off with Film Noir Collection, the Essential Film Noir Collection, Volume 5. This has got 4 film noir films in here and some really exciting special features, which I'll talk about soon. You guys know, huge film noir fan, and I'm really happy that this collection is continuing. Like five sets down the line. Don't know if they're gonna if they have plans for more or whether they're gonna stop. I'm not sure, but we will see in this box set. I think they may be stretching the idea of a film noir maybe a little bit thin. I wouldn't agree that all of these are really traditional film noirs. I think they're movies that you could arguably consider film noirs, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll take a look. First up, let's just go by spine number. So 262 is The Island of Doomed Men. Peter Lorre is in this one, who's one of my favorite actors from the Golden Age. He's awesome. He puts in a really fantastic performance in this movie. Didn't think the movie was particularly that good. It's not like a really great movie. All of these actually are Poverty Row Westerns. So these are come from Columbia Studios, and there was one in here, so Columbia Pictures, one from Melange Pictures, who I actually never heard of. So these are all sort of like a lower budget, outside of the major studio system stuff. So what we call Poverty Row film noirs. So yeah, so this is a Poverty Row noir from 1940. So just sort of at the cusp of what we would consider films within the kind of film noir style. This comes from Columbia Pictures, as I said. Peter Lorre puts in a terrific performance here. He owns this, well, the back cover says it's an off-the-radar colony where he keeps paroled convicts, and then this undercover agent goes in to try and expose it, but gets trapped there, and this sadistic character that Peter Lorre plays sort of ends up trapping him there and torturing him and all this stuff. It's a pretty full-on movie, particularly for 1940. We're talking the Hays Code has been in effect for the best part of 5, 6, 7 years. So it's actually a pretty hard-hitting noir or hard-hitting film from the early 40s in particular. A lot of stuff like this would have passed in the early 30s. So I think this it feels like a 30s movie, but yeah, I think it's good. I'm not too sure I'd consider this a noir. It's more of a kind of a hard-boiled thriller, kind of sort of with a lot of horror elements. I don't get a lot of noir out of this. It's filmed beautifully. It particularly has that noir kind of heavy shadows and, low-key lighting. But I'm not too sure I would consider it a film noir. Again, the movie's not great, but Peter Lorre's performance in here is definitely worth checking out. He's always fantastic. The next one, 263. Is that right? Yeah, 263. The next one here is called The Red Menace. Now, this is a film from 1949. So it's just sort of at the end of the film noir cycle. We consider film noirs sort of probably early 40s to late 40s. No, maybe, I would say maybe some late 30s stuff I consider as well. And maybe early 50s, just kind of at a push. Yeah, definitely early 50s at a push. We'd consider film noir. Anyway, so this one's called The Red Menace. It's not really a traditional film noir. In the fact that it's actually like a propaganda film. It's an anti-communist propaganda film. Again, I've never heard of Melange Pictures. This is, I guess, a independent production studio. And now, this is like an anti-communist film that would have happened during it would have come out during the Red Scare in Hollywood. So there was this big sweep in Hollywood where they tried to flush out anyone they believed were communists, anyone they believed had different political ideologies than them, and the government just tried to flush out people who they felt had like a big influence through the medium of film. So a lot of these movies that were then released around that time were secretly propaganda films, and this is an anti-communist propaganda film, very heavy-handed on its messages and stuff, but it's sort of masqueraded as a film noir. So I do let this one pass. There's not really anyone in here of note. There's not really anyone that I recognized anyway. So it certainly is a very, very low budget, very independent thing. But it's kind of interesting to see. It's not a great movie either. You look on IMDb, it's got a score of like a 4.9 or something, which is pretty low. Yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's kind of an interesting relic of that time period and definitely something worth watching if you're interested in your film history. But what I think is really great about this set right here is two bonus features that are on this. One is called Hollywood on Trial. This is a feature documentary from 1976 narrated by John Huston on the Red Scare that happened in Hollywood, about the trial, the anti-communist trial that tried to flush out the commie influence out of Hollywood. And the people that kind of got caught up in there were a lot of people who weren't communists and people who weren't trying to work against their country, that were branded communists and enemies of the state, basically, and were blacklisted from Hollywood. Some people were sent to jail. Some people were kind of kicked out of the country, left the country. And it's kind of a really weird time in history, but great documentary on that. It's a mid-70s documentary, so it's a little bit slow. There's a lot of talking heads, that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit of a trudge to get through, but it's very interesting. Now, this was actually supposed to be on another film they put out not long ago. I can't remember what the film was off the top of my head. By the Imprint range, it was supposed to be on one of them, and at the last minute, for some reason, they couldn't get clearance for it or something, and didn't wind up on that release. But it's wound up on this. I think this is a better suited title for that documentary to be on. There's also a short film called The Hollywood 10. It's a 1950 kind of newsreel short, which focuses on the 10 guys who were sent to prison because they were branded as communists. Dalton Trumbo is one of them. You would have seen the film with Bryan Cranston portraying Trumbo, screenwriter, filmmakers and whatever. They were just all sort of branded. 10 of them went to jail. And that's, I think it was a piece that was put together to kind of appeal to the public to try and help their cause. Like a sort of a, I guess a charity thing to try and, get them out of going to prison. So yeah, as always, again, I didn't show this one, but very nicely designed packages right here. Really, really good. So yeah, so there's those two. The next one here we'll look at is this one. This is a 1957 film. So it's outside of the period that we would consider traditional film noir. And in fact, it's probably creeped into a period where we would probably more technically consider this a neo-noir. Even though it is a movie from over 60 years ago, I think we would still perhaps consider this a neo-noir because it was outside of that era. there's different filmmakers and different stylings kind of creeping in. But this one's called The Burglar, and it focuses on a burglar who and his two kind of crim buddies. They do this massive heist at the beginning of the film, really great heist scene, and it's sort of like a meditation on the domino effect that happens to these guys and what happens to them, how they wind up incriminated and all this stuff over the following years after this big heist. Really interesting. It has got a terrific performance in here by Dan Duryea, and most interestingly is that this is the film that put the wonderful Jayne Mansfield on the world stage, and she is gorgeous. She's a amazing performer, and there's no wonder she went on to be an absolute star in Hollywood for her sort of very brief time. But yeah, great performances in here. Again, didn't love the movie. Probably out of them, it's probably the movie I enjoyed the most, to say that. But yeah, no bonus features on there other than a theatrical trailer, and same with Island of Doomed Men, no bonus features at all. This next one only has a theatrical trailer as well, which is really kind of odd for imprint stuff. They seem to have less and less bonus on them at the moment, which I think, if I'm thinking the mindset of a consumer, it's harder to justify the big premium prices that are being put on these box sets, particularly when these movies aren't that great. I will say that these movies aren't particularly that great. I feel like a lot of really good stuff came out early on in the imprint line, but a lot of the stuff now is movies that I'm finding aren't particularly great. But again, there's a premium price on these big box sets, and I feel like we're getting less. Not only in the quality of the movies, but in the quality of the bonus features that are on here as well. That's just a minor little thing I wanted to flag on there. I think I've heard a couple of people kind of mention the same things as well. But I still love these box sets. I still love the imprint line, and I love Viavision. I love working with you guys out there, Viavision. But yeah, just a kind of little thing that I wanted to plug out there. But anyway, this one here is the last one of the set. It's called 13 West Street. So again, I think we'd probably consider this a neo-noir because it's 1962. And this is actually pretty good. It's a hard hitting. We're starting to see a lot of early 60s. We're sort of pushing towards the era where the Hays Code is being flushed out of Hollywood by the late, 1968, 69. The Hays Code is gone. But the early 60s, filmmakers are really pushing the boundaries again. So this is a very heavy-hitting one. There's this guy who is brutally beaten up by a gang of teens, and he goes out of his way to take the law into his hands and hunt them down. Really cool movie. I actually did really enjoy this. I will say, actually, this is a good movie, and I enjoyed The Burglar as well, probably the most. Really, really fantastic performance in here from Alan Ladd, who is sort of towards the end of his career. He's a little older. He's aging in here. He did a lot of really great film noirs in the late 30s, the 1940s. This is him sort of a little bit older. I guess he's in his 50s, he's really good. He's well suited to this role. So it was really interesting. I hadn't seen a lot of stuff in his sort of later career. But yeah, enjoyed this one. Heavy-hitting noir. If you do love film noir, I would definitely recommend this. But I would probably consider it more of a neo-noir than a film noir. There's just a technicality though. But it is still from the classic period of Hollywood. So, very light on bonus features, this box set right here, but the bonus features that are there are fantastic. The two documentaries are really, really good, and I'm very happy that they did finally manage to get them into the box set. I'll actually take this off the back so you can see, I usually do that. So you can see the artwork on the back there. I haven't ripped the box, that's just that the glue is still there. But yeah, so that's really cool, nice box there. Films aren't that great, lacking a bit in bonus features, but the two big features that are on there are well and truly worth your time. So if you're a fan of these film noir box sets, head out, pick that one up, because it is worth taking a look at. Next one here is the Tales of Adventure Collection Volume 2. Again, let me just, I'll show you this on the back. I think we've got 6 movies in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 movies in this, in 4 cases. One of them has 2 films in 1 case. Now, this is, again, second volume of the Tales of Collection line. The first volume sort of focused on sword and sandal epics, kind of Tales of the Arabian Nights, that kind of adventure fantasy storytelling. But this one here presents a ton of jungle pictures. So movies like action adventures set in the jungle. So it's a bit of a stark contrast, but I think it's a really interesting line, particularly if they do more of these. I'd be interesting to see what kind of themings they continue on with down the line. So action, adventure, you could have a box set of pirate swashbuckling films. You could have, I guess, a set of westerns, adventure westerns. Really excited to see what they do with the next one of this. That said, these movies are really not that good. These are all Poverty Row films as well. These have all come from, I think most of these, if not all of them, are from Republic Pictures, who again is another very small Poverty Row studio from the time period. One is from Columbia, Poverty Row. The other's Paramount. So there's one kind of major studio picture in this whole collection here. Now, Poverty Row doesn't mean the movies are bad. It just means they're low budget, and they were usually kind of B movies. They were the B movie that you'd watch after the main movie was played when you went to the theatre for like a double bill. But a lot of Poverty Row films are terrific. Some of them are really, really bad, and we'll see in this one that there's some pretty average titles in here. So we'll go by number order again. This one here is a double pack. It's got a film called Angel on the Amazon, one called Daughter of the Jungle. Again, I love how they do this with their 2-packs. You can choose which film artwork you want to display. Daughter of the Jungle, Angel on the Amazon. The descriptions and stuff are repeated on both sides, which is really cool. Both of these movies are sort of like they're jungle pictures, as I said, and they're both sort of like a gender-flipped version on Tarzan. In both cases, there's like this jungle woman, it's like a jungle Tarzan who gets mixed up with the British or the white man who comes into the jungle for whatever reason. Really not great films. I thought Daughter in the Jungle in particular is really bad. It starts off really quite good, and then there's a sequence where she's fighting a gorilla, but it's just a dude in a gorilla suit. It's like terrible. Even for the time, it's really bad. I think these kinds of movies are interesting to watch though, and it's kind of interesting to see a contrast between the kind of movies that were coming out at the time. So these are late 1940s. So at that time, we're getting a lot of big blockbuster film noirs and biopics and epic films and stuff, but you're also getting sort of smaller, more independent, cheaper stuff as well. And this is maybe the kind of Saturday matinee stuff that you would see probably paired with like a John Wayne film or something like that. I think it's always interesting if you're interested in cinema and you want a rounder idea of the landscape of cinema, you got to watch a bit of everything. So these are particularly interesting for me to take a look at. We got Fair Wind to Java, which is, I guess, kind of a mix between a jungle picture and like a pirate film as well. You've got a bit of both. It kind of starts out in the jungle and then it turns into like this big sweeping pirate epic. It's quite fun. I thought it was quite fun. It's got Fred MacMurray in a really interesting kind of role. It's not a role that I've really ever seen him in. It's probably closer to maybe his Disney work than the stuff that he was doing. Like, he did a few film noirs, he did a few kind of drama, romance films, a few films alongside Barbara Stanwyck. But so this is a very different kind of movie for him. He stars alongside Vera Ralston, who's really great in this as well. I actually had a lot of fun with this. Thought it was not one of the best movies ever, but I thought it was really quite interesting. This one actually comes from a high definition presentation from a 4K scan of the original 3-strip true color negative. Bit of like a Technicolor ripoff at the time. Certain studios had patents over Technicolor, or they had exclusivity over Technicolor, and they had to develop their own kind of color systems. They never matched Technicolor. So this is kind of a muted kind of color, but it looks quite, these all actually pull up looking quite good. Not a lot, I guess, not a lot of money has gone into the transfers. These ones actually, in fact, even these two have come from 35mm nitrate negatives 4K scans. They come out looking very nice and crisp, but not a lot of money has gone into like cleaning up all the scratches and the tears and the pops and all that kind of stuff in the image. The what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of the inherent damage to the original film. In some respects, I think that's okay, actually. I think when you're watching, particularly when it's a movie that's not like a big studio film, it's a smaller, independent, cheaper movie, it adds a little bit of an atmosphere to it, adds a little bit of that grunge. It feels like you're watching a B movie at a picture house where the film perhaps wasn't stored or handled as well as it could have been. And I think it adds a little bit of charm to these films. So they all pull up looking very nice. Same with the film noir set. They're all very nice transfers here. I didn't have a problem with any of these. So yeah, Fair Winter Java, that's a decent ride. I had fun with that. The next one up here is Elephant Walk. This is one that Vivision put out on DVD maybe a year or two ago, which I picked up. I thought I'd watched it, but I think I'd only skimmed through it. So I watched it properly. Looks nice in HD. This only says it's a high definition presentation from Paramount, so I don't think it's a new transfer. It's probably an older transfer. It does look like your standard kind of studio transfer. This is a film where Elizabeth Taylor, in kind of an earlier role, she stepped in, I think, I can't exactly remember who the actress was. I think maybe Vivien Leigh was supposed to be in this film and had to pull out at the last moment, so she took over the role. And it plays this English woman who falls in love and is whisked away to this kind of isolated jungle plantation that's owned by a rich guy, and she falls in with him and whatever else. It's very melodramatic. It's very sappy. I did not have the best time watching it because it's just it's very tedious to watch, and it's only an hour and 43 minutes, but it felt like it dragged on a lot. I'm not a huge fan of Elizabeth Taylor's films. A lot of her films are very melodramatic, but she's a great performer, and if you're a fan of hers or you want to see some of her earlier stuff, this is definitely one that's worth taking a look at. Dana Andrews is in here, and Peter Finch too, who both deliver great performances as well. Yeah, melodramatic, tedious, not exactly my cup of tea, but there's a couple of really great sequences in here. It's filmed gorgeously. It's got beautiful cinematography, and it's visually beautiful. That kept me going for the film as an awesome elephant stampede sequence. There's a great sequence right at the end of the movie that is kind of worth it. It pays off in the end. We got another one here. This is the last one in it. Safari. This one stars Victor Mature and Vivien Leigh. Both really... Janet Leigh. No relation. Janet Leigh puts in a really good performance in this one, but I think she's kind of miscast against Victor Mature, who is a great performer, but I don't feel really gives his best performance in this film. This is a mid-50s jungle sort of adventure where he is a professional hunter. She is like a tourist going into the jungle. They fall in love, and there's like a love triangle. And again, a bit of a tedious watch, but it was an interesting one. And I think it's worth watching for Janet Leigh performance. She puts in a really good performance in this. And I haven't seen a lot of stuff of hers outside of like maybe Psycho, some of the stuff that she did with Tony Curtis as well. I haven't seen a whole lot of her work. So always good to kind of dive into the works of actors that I do admire. It's directed by the great Terrence Young as well. Did so many great films. But yeah, so that's the last one in that set. Again, I don't believe there was much in the way of bonus features on any of these. We have a couple of audio commentaries on pretty much all of the films except for the two studio ones, Elephant Walk and Safari. But the other three do have audio commentaries, and that's it. So again, very thin on the bonus features again. It is becoming a little bit of a trend with the imprint releases now that they don't have as many bonus features. I don't know if they've exhausted the stuff they've got, or they're just releasing titles that didn't have a lot of bonus features attached to them. They weren't given the assets from the studios. The interesting thing to note is, particularly with this one, these being mostly Republic Pictures films, Shock Entertainment actually had a lot of the if not all of the Republic Pictures films before they exited the market. They released a lot of John Wayne stuff. They were all with Republic, a few other things as well. So I have a feeling that some of these may have been titles that they acquired after Shock left the market, and now it gives Vivision the chance to release these movies locally. I don't know this for sure, but this is just kind of the way my brain is kind of connecting a few dots. And as you know, a lot of those old Shock releases never had, pretty much all of those Shock releases didn't have any bonus features. So I feel like the studio just doesn't have assets for that. But it is nice that there are audio commentaries on here. They're brand new 2023 audio commentaries, so I believe they've probably been made especially for this set, which is a nice touch. But it's a really beautiful little box set. I love that. And this picture, I can't get this off without damaging it, but there's a nice little image under there as well. So look, I do want to say thank you to Imprint for Vivision for sending over these two sets. I'm really hoping that some stuff from the December wave comes over. I'm particularly hanging out to get the Marlon Brando Icons box set. Really want to get my hands on that. If I can't get it, I will of course go out and pick it up myself. But I'm really hoping I can get my hands on that to review for you guys out there. There's some really cool stuff coming out from Imprint and Vivision over the next few months. And yeah, so thanks to Imprint for your continued support and continually working with me. I really love working with you, and thanks for sending these out. Thanks everybody out there for watching. Again, you can check out my Umbrella Entertainment video I uploaded a few days ago. A whole bunch of Umbrella titles in there. I've also got a Sanity video that's going to go up with some more recent studio releases as well. So thanks again to everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, take it easy.